I'm Sheryl Corriveau.
And I'm Paula Sullivan, and welcome to the Comfort Zone. So this week we are going to do something a little different. Usually we um, we interview guests, but today our guest is going to be Sheryl because she has a new business, a new website, and a new online store she's launching. It's called She Wigs Out. And so Sheryl, can you tell us how you got started?
Oh my God, yeah. So I've been a wig wearer for a few years, and how I got into the experience basically was I had a Depo-Provera shot years ago, which is a birth control shot, and my hair just got really thin, so I kept cutting it, and it was fine. It was really short, and I would also put this hair powder in it. As women, our hair is part of like the confidence that we have. And so I kind of was like, it was fine. I mean, I wore it fine, but I felt like I didn't have options. And I kind of had my final straw was when my daughter and I were volunteering at this place called Takes on Bikes for my real estate company. And we were way out in the field and way out at the station. The kids were riding their bikes around. And now remember, I was wearing hair powder to make it look thicker, this black hair powder. And so all of a sudden the sky gets dark and I'm like, oh my God, it's going to rain. And I was just like, I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. It was just like the point where I was like, you know what? I had kind of been thinking about wigs, and then I said this was so much stress to try to, with this powder. So if it was raining or if it was windy, it made things so limiting. And so I made the decision after that event to just take the deep dive. I had no idea really about the wig wearing world. And I just, I bought my first wig. It was a very expensive wig. And it was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible. And so basically, I came into this world. I really didn't know what I was doing. There really wasn't much help because people were trying to sell you, right? And then I started visiting wig shops. So some very high-end wig shops, and I was again met with a very shocking experience as far as a lack of customer service, a lack of compassion, and actually a very old-fashioned model. So some places I would go, it was very wiggy-looking wigs. So and it wasn't the experience I wanted. And so I figured it out. I really had to do a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, a lot of money and frustration. And then, now here I am. And as an entrepreneur, I just said, you know what? I want to make a difference. I want to help women get their confidence back. And I want to do it in a way that, I've been a life and health coach for years and teaching Pilates for years, and just holding space for someone in a way that is very caring and very, gives them a safe space. And especially women going through, maybe chemo or with alopecia or thyroid issues, or there's so many reasons women wear wigs. But I think that the model of what the options available have been extremely limiting. And so that's what I want to change. I want to solve that problem for women.
That's a great mission. I love that. And I think it's so, right now we can sit here and have a good time and you talk about the powder, but, and it seems almost funny because we're just having a good time. But really, when you think
Yeah.
of it, that must have been devastating.
It
To go
was.
through that, some of those times when you're losing your hair, you're thinning, your hair is thinning, you're trying to deal with it. You're a woman, you're trying to look good. I mean, you have your daughter in tow, and yeah, that must have been some tough experiences. Yeah.
Well, I think again, back to how stressful it was when I was wearing the hair powder and I'd hug someone and they got black all over their face.
Yeah.
Or, I'm putting the hair powder on and so the wind blows and I'm driving my car and it's like,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and just the fact that it was messy, it was everywhere. I had to change my
Yeah.
pillowcase every day.
Yeah.
But again, so it was just, it was one of those things, when you've had enough of having enough of
Yeah.
something and you look for a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of been the thread of how I got into most things in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Right.
But it was challenging, and I think that's why I can feel for women that are going through this process, just how they feel. And I'm not embarrassed about it because it was actually a relief to start wearing wigs.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I realized that those places that I went in, and one time, even the owner herself, a very high-end wig store, she was extremely rude. And I was just like, I was shocked more than anything that this is what women are experiencing. And I was like, this is not okay.
Yeah. So you kind of always, in the back of your mind, knew, even though you're a realtor, you're an author, you're a fitness coach, you're a life coach, you knew at some point in your life you wanted to help women who are going through this same struggle, right?
I wanted to for a long time, but for a long time, like my very first wig looked just like my pixie cut, so no one knew I was wearing a wig. So there was definitely a period of transition for me where I was like, okay, like this is all new, right? It was
Yeah.
it was very like, okay, no one knew I was wearing one. So then it also became a little bit of a secret.
Yeah.
And then, of course, my friends or people that I knew, my clients, they would know because I would change my hair up.
Yeah.
And I went
Yeah.
from short to like longer and then longer. And then, now I'm kind of going shorter again.
Yeah.
But then coming out with it, that was something that I had to really come to terms with fears about, what people would think, or the judgments that we just fear. If we're going to really like be that authentic, I think we all will come to grips with parts of ourselves that we kind of held back, or would rather just people just think we're like wonderful in every way. But I also think that there's a strength when you become that authentic, because it enables other people to be the same, and we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And so I also found there was a lot of freedom in just really being real.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great. Yeah. We're both authors, so you're touching on things that I wrote my book about. Not feeling good enough, being afraid, not feeling good about my, the neighborhood I grew up in, and what my parents did for a living, or how much money we have, not ever feeling good enough, comparing myself to others, the worries, the fears, and the things that we just carry along with us from our child, these beliefs. I'm not good enough. And so, at one point it was my journey, my personal mission to get myself happy. And so I, kept reading, kept learning from experts, learning from books, from, everywhere I could. And eventually, things started shifting in me when I started working on my subconscious mind, because that's where I believe all our programming is. And it's all our beliefs. I am not good enough. I am, the world is a scary place. I am not safe. These were thoughts that I had constantly in the back of my mind. And finally, after, in my 40s, I started clearing them out and, discovering ways. And now it's changed my life. And I feel like what you're doing is going to change people's lives too. To not feel good enough about, about yourself, about the fact that you have to wear a wig, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, I mean, it's the beliefs that really are not even true. And because and I think it's a process. I love getting older, don't you, Paula?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you get older and you just stop wanting to live for everybody else, and you start really finding out who you are. And then you start leaning into something, into your non-comfort zone, right? Getting out of the comfort zone. And that's when I think the magic really happens, though.
Yeah.
Because you have to become uncomfortable. And sometimes I think problems are a way of finding our solutions because
Yeah.
they push us out of that. And I think that's why now, and same with you, my book too, the same thing, it was all about my journey. It was
Yeah.
all about peeling things away because when you realize, like, this is not working anymore, that's the only time that you look for another solution.
Yeah.
And I think the journey is also about forgiveness. Forgiveness of ourselves and other people, and really an unconditional love for ourselves that is not dependent on other people's approval or if somebody likes you or doesn't like you, because you've got to come to terms with yourself if you're going to be a whole person, if you're going to be, integrate living from your heart and not just from your head,
Yeah.
right? Living
Yeah.
from your heart, showing up authentically. You have to come to terms with all of those fears, and you have to make a decision eventually that you're not going to be available to live fearful and afraid and all those things by those limiting beliefs that we learn often when we're younger.
Yeah.
And and I'm sure some people have wonderful upbringings, but I know a lot of people struggle with just in general wanting to be good enough and not feeling like they are deep down. And
Yeah.
I think our message is the same, is
Yeah.
is to
Yeah.
come to this place of truly being happy and truly being the best version of ourselves,
Yeah.
and just saying yes to who we really are, which is not all the labels,
Right.
right?
Right. And it's so true. And, to talk about my childhood, my mother was just the kindest person. My father, I adored him. I'm so fortunate now to look back and to think about the neighborhood we grew up in, and we lived in the woods. The things we got to do. So yeah, so there's no shame now. Definitely, there's only appreciation.
Yes.
And but I think it takes working on yourself, to get to that place. And of course, it's a journey. It's a daily, it's daily for me. I'm always, working on myself. I'm not perfect by any means, but it's a journey. And so, yeah.
You're perfectly imperfect.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
that's
like
so
that.
good, though. That's so good to be okay with that. Because I think it's like every moment is a moment and an opportunity to forgive and to love. And to
Yeah.
choose love over fear,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's an ongoing, it's just like an ongoing dance. And we always get to choose again in the moment,
Yeah.
you
Right,
know?
right. And I love it when something comes up. Like even for me, social media is new to me. It's nothing that's been I haven't been on Facebook for years. I've been on fairly recently. And, putting myself out there is scary, and I still have plenty of fears and hang-ups to work on. But when they do come up, I try to work on them. But it's, like anything, it's repetition. I mean, look at the
Oh,
thought
yeah.
of somebody trying to diet, someone trying to eat better, someone trying to, think of any habit, any mindset. It's, we have 60,000 thoughts a day over that. So it's just, these thoughts, these beliefs have just accumulated. So it's not a one and done. You just
No.
don't decide one day, well, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be so happy with my authentic self. It's
No.
it's it's practices that you have to, to work on. I know you know that too.
I feel the same way. I mean, and like, well, to your point about the social media, I had a friend and I was in the same exact position. I was like, I don't want to go on and do a live. Like, I was so nervous. And she's like, Sheryl, you're never going to be ready.
Yeah.
You just press play. You just,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my God, like, you're right. I'm never going to be ready. And I just have to be uncomfortable and do it. And then, like you said, repetition is the mother of skill. Like, you just keep doing it and you keep doing it and you get better. And I think the problem is a lot of people won't even start because they're afraid that they're not ready. And I think everybody, no matter what you're doing, when you look back to the first day or the first time you tried something, it's not going to look the same as look past, into a year, 5 years, and I think we just have to be okay with not being perfect,
Yeah.
and be messy and just do it, because
So
it's
true.
better to do it than not do it and then live a life of regret.
Yeah, I know. I just love that you do these lives every day, and I it's like I'm inspired by it because you do it, and you're teaching people. You're out there, and you're getting followers, and people are learning from the things that you have learned. And so I just think it's great. So what are your plans for She Wigs Out? So what do you see?
Yeah, I'm really excited. So it's going to be an e-commerce store for one. So obviously everything's online nowadays. And then it's also going to be, I'm working with a local salon so that when there's no stylist, I can actually have people come in for consultations and, to buy wigs if they'd want to. It's a very creative level. It's at the beginning stages right now. But I'm putting into works. It's going to be a crowdfunding effort because there's a lot of startup costs and stuff like that. I'm just really excited because already I've been doing, so I have a Facebook page, She Wigs Out, and that's where I've been doing a lot of my lives, and with different wigs that I've had from the past years, and so it's kind of fun. But also I'm here. A lot of people are reaching out, and they're already asking me like, "Can you help my mom that's going through chemo? Can you help my wife? And I'm like, "Oh my God, like yes, I just have to get this up and running." But yeah, I feel like it's very organic. I pray about this pretty much every step of the way. I just ask for guidance. Right now, I'm in the process of needing to just complete my video for the crowdfunding, and then I'm going to start sharing it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell the audience about crowdfunding because not everybody knows about it, but it's such a fun,
Oh yeah.
cool thing. I
Yeah.
know it's been around for years, but
Yeah.
yeah, can you tell us what that's?
Yeah, I didn't know much about it either. So like there's some that are very, GoFundMe. There's some entrepreneurial ones, so like Kickstarter, Indiegogo. I found one called I Fund Women, and it's very women-based entrepreneurial endeavors, startups to support and help women in some way to make a difference in their lives. But I also started looking at Donor Box, which is a little bit different. But the point of it is you share it, and people that want to donate can donate. But you also would like, so say like a $25 donation, you get a signed copy of my book. So there's different tiers of actually what you'd be getting. So it's not like you're just giving. You can give a monetary donation with no reward,
Yeah.
but you can also give and get like some life coaching with me, or give
great.
and donate a synthetic wig in your name or a human hair wig in your name, like the different tiers. And also for businesses, because we're business women, what do businesses need is marketing. And I'm very good at PR, so those would also be things that I'd like to offer to help businesses get more exposure as well. So
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Fun for people to be involved. So can you tell me what it would be like for a woman who has decided that she wants a wig. She's had some, receding hair or thinning hair, whatever her issues are, and she's intimidated, she's afraid, she just doesn't know where to start. How could you, help her?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, it's what somebody wants, what their needs are, because different needs have different options. But basically, what do they feel comfortable in? Do they want something that looks like the hair they wore? Do they want a different color? We could go over the options of why the differences between synthetic hair and human hair. Also, different companies. The pieces are different. Some of the cap constructions, some run larger, some run smaller. Some of the hair densities thinner or thicker, and just going over the different options and the price points, and having inventory for people to try on stuff too. Because like I had said, I went to a wig store, and like this is a lace front wig. So lace front wig is like, it looks like you can see my hairline, right?
Yeah.
There's some which would be like more old fashioned, and some people are fine with that, but they're very more, they don't look as natural. My whole thing is to wear a wig that doesn't look like a wig. If
Yeah.
you want to tell people you're wearing a wig, fine. If you don't, people shouldn't know that you're wearing a wig.
Yeah.
Not with how well they're made today.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's just having the options. I have a very aesthetic eye, so like depending on a person's shape of their face, yeah, or even skin color. Like I've bought wigs where it just didn't look good. It washed me out. And again, a lot of trial and error. And then even like how to kind of customize a wig, like so thinning. I can thin a wig out. I'm not a stylist, but I also know stylists. I have a friend that comes to my house and she'll change up my hair. So I think it's nice because even like now I teach Pilates classes and stuff. So I have older wigs that I've sort of cut or whatever, and they become my workout wigs. And then I'll have so just to kind of open people's eyes to like the possibilities.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds great to change your wig with your mood and
Oh my
just
God.
have fun with it. It just, I didn't know it could be just a really cool, fun kind of, lifestyle
Oh my
for a
God.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's for me, wigs are nothing I knew about, and they just seemed for older women. But I know that's changing.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
Well, even a lot of like Jewish, so the Orthodox Jews, a lot of women wear wigs for their beliefs of religion. But yeah, I think it can be a really fun thing. I don't think it needs to be this stigma. And that's, again, why I wanted to make a difference, because I'm like, why is this such an outdated model? I just was kind of shocked,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And let's talk about stigmas. The same thing for our books. Simply being happy. It's a self-help book, and maybe there's a stigma with people getting help for their mind. People, oh, that's taboo. Oh, you're a self-help guru. Wow, that's. But I'm out and I'm loud and I'm proud and I'm. I think it's great. I mean, we all have our minds and we all have our programming, and I think when I first wrote the book, I had been studying this by myself. This was my personal mission for so long. My kids didn't even know I was studying this. I would read, I would take 20 books out of the library, the library system at a time, and I just couldn't get enough, and I just would, learning and practicing. And so then when I wrote the book, it was kind of a little scary to go out there. It was like, yikes, you wrote a book on being happy. So I've had to overcome that I think it's my own beliefs too, of being afraid of what people are going to think. And now I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of what I know. I'm proud of what I practice. And really, who couldn't use a little bit of help in, some areas of their beliefs?
Oh my God.
Even just, at work, walking down the halls and hearing people complain, and how complaining is just this way of life for people. Let's just complain about the job. Let's complain. And I just see it as a victim mentality. And it's not that I'm saying I'm better than anybody, but I still think it's a way of life that I think it doesn't have to be that way.
I agree with you.
And being a warrior, being stressed, it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, it's detrimental to your health.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, being vulnerable was also a choice, but on the other side of that, how many people you can help because of it. And I think that's that's strength. I think being vulnerable is actually strength.
This was nice, Sheryl. Great. So we have a few more minutes. So Sheryl, what can you tell people how to reach you, and what you got coming up?
Definitely. Well, I do have shewigsOut.com's domain. I actually bought He Wigs Out too, because there are male wigs for men. But it's very temporary. I put it up. It's very scrappy. It's one of the first things once I start raising money is to pay the web developer. So you can go on She Wigs Out, and it's just a basic sign up on the email if you wanted to do that. But really right now what I'm doing more of is on Facebook, where it's She Wigs Out, and you can catch me there pretty much doing live every day and just sharing a lot more about this. And then I also have Real Talk with Sheryl. And then I have my personal page, just SherylCorriveau.com.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And I have my website is paulasullivanauthor.com. I have a Facebook page, Paula Sullivan Author, but I also started kidsaresuperheroes.com because I feel like I can help kids with these principles. You know, every little kid is a superhero, and I want to show them that they can bring that out in themselves.
You have so many gifts, Paula.
You too, Sheryl. We're wonderful.
We are. 3. So, any last words about what are you doing? You were just telling me something about your book that you're going to be doing an event.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble up in Millbury. Yeah,
When is
an
that?
author event. I do not know. I'll post it on my Facebook page.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. It's fun, though. I mean, I think it was very therapeutic just to even write the books.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you helped me get my book into the world because,
Yeah.
and even through that whole vulnerability piece that I had no idea about.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's funny because people are like, wow, you wrote a book. But, you know, nowadays, Amazon's Create Space, really, if you have a book, if you guys have, anyone has a book in mind, because they say everyone has a book.
Oh, yeah,
in
you
their,
have a book
in their
in you.
heads. Create Space by Amazon, I cannot say enough. You can get that book out, so, yeah.
Absolutely. Just going to make a little bit of progress every day. I think that was the biggest thing, that just every day do something toward your goals, whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us
Yes.
for another episode of The Comfort Zone.
Okay.